My name is Ken Lewicki of the Ask Ken Show, and we have Iona with us today. Hi, Iona.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well.
I'm excited for today. Today's going to be a good day. We're going to do some crazy cool stuff here, cover some great topics on the Ask Ken Show. So this is my once a month show where this is your show. You get to go ahead and ask any questions about spirituality, and I will live channel the answers here on air. And I do this for two main reasons. One is because where else do you go to get your spiritual questions answered? And then the other big reason is because I like to try to emulate for my students that, hey, you can live channel too. You can do this anywhere, anytime. I have massive goosebumps right now. What a great way to start the show. All the spirit guides are coming in. And even if you're watching the recording, you'll still be able to feel this live if you actually tune in when you're watching the recording. It's really cool because whenever I do any recordings, I make sure that it's the intention that the people watching later on will also be able to get the full effect. So yeah, go ahead, take it away, Iona.
Yeah, so let's start with the first question and get going for the night. So the question is, I'm a Reiki master and do regular self-healing on myself. Why is it with some things I need to see another healer?
Yes, good question. So I always encourage my students. I say to them, I say, please, please, please go do lots of healing, and don't just go to anyone though. Make sure you use your discernment, use discretion, and with channeling, you could actually check with your spirit guides to, decide and to see who or what. Who might be a good practitioner for you, or healer, or teacher, or facilitator. And there's a couple reasons. So I do teach a whole bunch of healing modalities in my more later advanced workshops. And one of the things that I've noticed for myself is that if I do self-healing, which I do, I always teach my students how to do, whenever I teach any kind of healing modalities, I always teach them how to do it on themselves. And I also teach them how to do it on others. And the reason why is because too many people that I've noticed is what happens is the person will over and over and over just keep giving their power away. They keep thinking, oh, I need to go to this healer and that healer and this healer and that healer. So there's two kinds of extremes when it comes to spiritual practitioners or people that are just interested in the spiritual industry, is they think two things. One is, oh, I can heal everything myself. That's one extreme. And then the other extreme is, oh, I need to go see other healers all the time to get healing. And I do feel like it's somewhere in the middle. I do feel that there's some things that I can heal on myself called self-healing, but I also do feel that for myself that there are other healers, other Reiki practitioners, for example, that could help with the healing as well. And because the reason is two reasons. One is because they may have abilities that I may not have. And then the other reason is because they actually may be able to see things from a perspective that I may miss and not be able to see. So it's kind of like, if you think of a big forest and I'm in the forest, in the trees and everything, they may be able to see things from a different perspective than I may be able to. And go, oh, have you ever thought about this or considered that or seen this? And I'm like, oh, and then they're assessing me and analyzing me. And they're like, oh, you need this, cleared out or this extracted from you. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice that. How did I not see that? Now that you pointed out, I see it, but I didn't see that myself. So thank you. Another thing I also really encourage.
It's it's definitely different when you're kind of in your own box and then what people see from the outside of the box, right? So kind of, hence the saying outside of the box thinking, sometimes you got to put yourself outside of the box and look in.
Yeah, and that's sometimes difficult for us when we're in the weeds and we're going through the trenches and the things of life that's going on.
Yeah.
Another thing that I also recommend to my students, which I feel is really important, is I tell them I have something once a month called the Ascension Group Healing. And then also in all my one-on-ones and all my group settings, all my group workshops, I always do healing and clearing. And the reason why is because as I'm teaching my students how to channel, I want them to be healthier and more of a clear channel. And then the second reason is because just, a healthier member of society. But I also tell my students, please go see other healers, psychologists, counselors, and all that other stuff, because they may be able to help you in ways that I may not be able to.
Yeah.
And if you're already seeing them, keep seeing them. And what I will be able to do is I will complement what you're already doing. Or if you are working with me and you go see other healers, again, use your discretion on this. They will be able to complement what I'm doing. And so together we can help. And I don't claim to be the one-all, healer that can do it all. I can do a lot. I have over 100 different healings that I can do on people, but there's sometimes other healers that may be able to help you in different ways. The reason I keep saying use your discretion when seeing other healers is because of when a healer is doing healing on you, if they're not healthy and they're not doing their own healing work, then it can leave what's called like an energy signature, an energy like imprint on you. And that could not always be a good thing. So even if they have good intentions and good motives, if they are doing their own work, some of that contaminant can kind of like spew into you. So what I do is, and I see healers on a regular basis as well, is before I go see them or consider them, I always check with my spirit guides and ask like, is this person in alignment for me? Are they good for me? Are they healthy for me? And there's no such thing as a perfect healer. Like everybody needs healing, even me. So but overall in general, are they within that range? Are they going to be able to help me? And sometimes, again, they don't need to be perfect for them to be able to help you, because they may be able to have amazing modalities and healing techniques that can actually really assist you and help you. So I hope these are some really good tips on choosing healers, working with healers, working with practitioners, and also other facilitators and teachers. Like, don't just go see anybody. Use discretion on that. The reason why is because what could happen is you could think that, oh, this person, look at how like great this write-up is, or this video is, or the promotion thing is, or it sounds really cool, really neat. But if you don't check with your spirit guides, it might sound all sexy, sound all amazing, but it could actually take you off your path. But you don't know that till many months or years later, or maybe never. You don't realize that that's taking you off your path. But if you check with your spirit guides, they'll let you know. They'll let you know, oh yeah, no, in this case, that's good for you. That'll be helpful for you. That'll be useful. And also, if it's not the case, definitely listen to that and don't do it, no matter how great the write-up is and all that other stuff. So
I mean, you also have to trust your own instincts as well, right? Like, I think that plays a role in it as well. Is your own instincts. Because just sometimes even if they are, even if they're good at what they're doing and stuff, like you said, it may not be the healing that you need right now. So you kind of have to go with that gut feeling, right? Like, I don't know, like, kind of. So
even if they're like the nicest person ever and they have good intentions, good morals, doesn't mean they're necessarily healthy for you. Or maybe the timing's wrong or something like that. So check all that stuff.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to move on to the next question. And that is, bear with me here. Is channeling your intuition?
Good question. Is channeling your intuition? Wow. So first of all, what is intuition? Does anybody ever really know? Okay, so let's take a step back. I'm going to explain. If you're watching this and you want to take some notes, I do recommend it. So there's a difference between instinct and intuition. What is instinct? So you can write this down if you're writing things down. Instinct is like that primal part of you, that caveman thing that keeps you safe from like saber-toothed tigers and stuff like that. So it's a survival thing. It's like if you're in a downtown late at night and you're like, hey, if I just cut through this back alley, I could get to my destination quicker. But your instinct kicks in and goes, whoa, wait a second, Ken, don't go down that back alley at nighttime, in this big city, because it's going to happen. And that's your instinct keeping you safe, keeping you alive. That's instinct. That's different. Intuition is a completely different section or area of your life or subtopic. So basically, your intuition consists of connecting with your soul, connecting with your higher self, or connecting with one of your spirit guides. So that's your intuition. Your intuition is getting it from multiple sources. And when you know how to tune into your soul and really connect with your soul in the center of your sternum area there, just breathe into it and listen to that quiet whisper of the soul. It takes practice, getting to know your soul. I recommend to my students that you connect with your soul every single day. Try not to miss a day. And then there's also your higher self, which gives you, it's kind of like a spirit guide. So it's not a spirit guide, but it's like a spirit guide. and it helps you to give this higher perspective of what's going on in your life. It is an aspect of you. It resides in the astral realm in the fourth dimension, and so it can give you a lot of good like guidance and advice. And then there's your spirit guides, and most people have somewhere between 3 to 5 spirit guides, and each spirit guide helps you in a different area of your life, and they help to collaborate with you in your life. So I always like, sometimes I have my students go, well, why would I listen to my guides? I just want to do my own thing. I'm like, then do your own thing. That's okay. You have free will. There's nothing wrong with it. But think of it more like collaborators. Like, they're here to help and assist you. You don't have to listen to them, but they're giving you, like, depending on which guide it is, they might be helping you with like finances or relationships or career or soul's purpose or health or whatever it might be, passions, relationships, you name it. And so if it's kind of like, think of it like you're the owner of your own company, so you're the CEO. You get to make the final decision on what you choose and which direction you take your company or your life. But you have your board of directors that come in, and your board of directors are like your spirit guides. And so before you make a major decision on the direction of your company, you might want to consult with your spirit guides, with your board of directors, and just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What's your perspectives? And your financial guide might chime in and say, oh yeah, well, that sounds great. Just think about how that might affect your finances, but also think of the future potential opportunity in finances as well. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's a good point. And then another guide, like maybe a relationship guide, might help you with, say, relationships, and go, oh, have you considered talking to this person? And you considered like, doing this next goal, you might have to buckle down and maybe not go hang out with friends as much, but in the long term, it will be good, making some boundaries and saying no from time to time, so that you can, like, you'd be surprised how many times on a Friday night I'm at home working on my business, not going out, doing things with everyone else. But I do go out every once in a while because that's good for my soul, good for my health and all that. But I have to limit that, or else I won't get anything else done. And then also maybe your health guide might come in and say, okay, well, this new goal that you're setting, yeah, it will maybe be longer days. You might need to burn the candle at both ends for a little short period of time. Just know that that's okay. You're going to do that for a short period of time, buckle down, get shit done. And then when you're done, then you can kind of relax a bit, get back into your normal routine, but still stay up on your exercise, your fitness, your health, eating healthy, and your sleep and all that other stuff while you're doing this goal. And then after you consult with your board of directors and your spirit guides, then you can kind of decide what you want to do. So what I've just shared with you is a hack. Nobody in the history of the world, I'm not going to say nobody, but whenever, in my experience, whenever back in the day, whenever someone would say, just follow your intuition, I'd be like, what are you talking about, follow my intuition? Like, what are you talking about? And people are like, I don't know, it's just kind of like that gut feeling or something like that. But it's so ambiguous, it's so vague. It's like kind of like trying to grasp a cloud or like fog or frost or something like that. You can't quite grasp it and grab it because it's so ambiguous. It's so vague, like there's nothing to really grasp. But what I just showed you is what intuition really is. So what is intuition? Your intuition is either coming from your soul, messages from your soul, your higher self, or one of your spirit guides, or a combination of your soul, your spirit guides, your soul, your higher self, your spirit guides. And this is how you access your intuition. So I've just given you this gift. If you're watching this right now, please, please, please work on practicing this. Practice channeling your soul on a regular basis. I do every single day, every single morning before I even get out of bed. Practice channeling your higher self. Connect with your spirit guides. Get to know your spirit guide team. Again, most people have somewhere between 3 to 5 spirit guides, and each spirit guide helps in different areas of your life. And then as you're going through and navigating your life, let's say there's this person you like. You're like, okay, should I date this person? Check with your spirit guides first. If there's this job that you think about applying for, check with your spirit guides first. If there's this vacation place you think about traveling to, check with your spirit guides first. And not just spirit guides, but your soul and your higher self. Again, follow your intuition. You'd be surprised, like some of my clients are like, as a joke, they're kind of like, oh, I wish we could just like have a camera crew follow you around for a week and see what the life of Ken is like. And you'd be like shocked how many synchronicities happen on a daily basis. Like, I was just thinking of this person, and then on my run this morning, I went for a 15-kilometer run. I ran into this person. I'm like, what? I was just thinking of you. And then another person I was just thinking of, and then they messaged me, and I was like, what? I was just thinking, right? Like stuff like this, and it's more than just that, but Oh my goodness, this is like a daily thing for me. It's crazy. You'd be like, oh my God, like, and you can have this too. You can have this too. With a little bit of training, if you ever want to check out my workshops, my website, check out channelinginc.com. A lot of you have taken my channeling workshops and training, and thank you. I appreciate it. I came
I
up
would
in the
recommend them.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I came up in one of the top 5 ChatGPT as channeling trainers and all that, so that's pretty cool. Actually, number 2. So I have a client who asked a question on Instagram.
Okay.
Hi, Permy. Thank you for asking the question. By the way, if you're watching this, just write in your name in the chat box and where you're from, and I will give you a shout out, or myself or Iona will give you a shout out. And then this way we can see you and just say hi. And also, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask in the chat box, and I will live channel the answers. Okay, so her question is, how can we hear our spirit guides more clearly?
It's a good question.
Great question. I can talk about it. I will try my best to talk about it. But the best way to actually learn is to have like either mentorship or have someone walk you through it. Taking in my channeling workshops, I walk my students through it in groups where I can processes and all that. Let me give you some short answers. So there's a few strategies and techniques that I've developed in the 20 years I've been teaching people how to channel. And the reason why I do this is because I want to set my students up for success. So one thing I recommend that they do, so again, if you're watching this, please write this down, and then I want you to practice it, is one of the things you do before you start to channel. And again, I don't recommend doing a whole bunch of things. Like, you don't need to light candles and sage and do all this. You can if you want, but you don't have to, okay? But what I do recommend you do, and it only takes seconds, is take a deep breath and ground yourself into the ground, because when you're all floaty and flighty and all that stuff, it's harder to connect because you're just like all over the place. But when you're grounded, it's actually easier to channel. And then it also allows like the energy to flow through you easier, because now you're anchored into the earth, into the ground. And then second thing I do suggest that you do is you center yourself. So just gather all that energy from the past, bring yourself to the present, gather all that energy from the future, bring it to the present. And you can actually do this right now if you're watching. So try grounding yourself, try centering yourself. And Iona, you can do this as well, just to help emulate for the group what we're doing. And then the third thing I suggest you do is you invite source energy to come in. That connects you to source and allows you to flood that energy through your body. Another big reason I have my students connect to source energy is so you don't ever get tired when you're channeling. So what happens is when we are using our chi energy down here, it drains our energy. But when we use source energy, it's kind of like plugging in your phone to source energy, and then you're basically plugged in and you have infinite amount of energy, and you never actually get tired channeling. So I channel all the time. I call it ABC, always be channeling, and you're just connected all the time. It's a normal part of your life, and you never get tired or drained because you're always connected. So that's why I suggest source energy. So if you're watching this, you can take a deep breath and just draw in that source energy through your crown. It runs in both directions. Have it flood through your body right now. You can do that right now and just let it flood through you.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, no, me too. Massive goosebumps. And just relax if you're watching this. Just relax in your body, relax in your grounding channel, relax into being centered and present right now in this moment. And then the next thing I suggest that my students do is go ahead and ask all your spirit guides to temporarily step far back. So you can go ahead and do this if you're watching. Just ask your spirit guides to temporarily step far back. And then now you would sit in spiritual silence and just feel what the difference is from before and after, what it's like when your spirit guides are around you. And then now that you've asked them to step far back, how does that feel different? How does it feel sit in the spiritual silence for a moment? And then the next thing you could do is, without deciding who, you invite one spirit guide to come in. And then you feel around you. Where might this spirit guide be physically around you? Back when I first started teaching people how to channel, there wasn't the technology that there is now. Now there's actually current technology that can capture your spirit guides on camera. You might have seen them on ghost hunter shows and things like that. So this technology has caught up with with spirituality finally. And so the technology is still in its infancy, but we can actually capture your spirit guides on camera, which is super cool and gets me really excited, because what you're experiencing now, if you feel around you, so just if haven't done so yet, just feel around you, and where might the spirit guide be around you? So it's like, okay, where are they? Maybe they're right here, or wherever they are, they might be behind you, whatever. And then what you do is you lock in on them. You lock in on them. Don't let your mind wander. You lock in on them. And wherever you feel your spirit guide around them, just know that this could be proven with current technology, where we can set up that highly sensitive camera systems in your room, and we could capture your spirit guides on camera. So in my case, I have a female guide who's right here, right beside me, right here. And she's here helping me, assisting me with the Ask Ken show. So thank you very much. Namaste. She's this past life lady from Egypt that I had a past life with, North Egypt area, which is super cool. So she's been helping me as my spirit guide for a while now. Love her. She's awesome.
Cool.
So once you connect with your spirit guide, try to get to know them, try to get to know who they are, and just feel into them. So I recommend people try to meditate, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds of meditation techniques out there. But the one that I recommend to my students is what I call silent meditation. So if you want to do the other ones, that's great, that's fine. But what I mean by silent meditation is when you just have complete quietness. No nothing, no music, no guided meditation, no nothing, just complete silentness. And the reason why is because I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard to hear my spirit guides over if there's a guided meditation, things like that. So it's best to just have complete silent meditation where there's no noise or anything. And then what you do is you focus on where your spirit guide is. Okay, they're right here. And the reason why I developed this technique is because I noticed that oftentimes my students, their mind is wandering aimlessly wherever. But it's like, no, where physically around you, where's your spirit guide? If they're here, that's where the source is. The source is coming from this direction. So it just really helps you to hone your abilities and increase your accuracy because you know where they are physically around you. Then what I suggest you do is you breathe into them. So if you're doing this right now, just breathe into your spirit guide, wherever they are around you. And even if you're watching this and you're driving or you're at work, you can still be doing this. Again, try to channel everywhere. Try to channel any environment. By the way, if you're channeling when you're driving, please keep your eyes open. Highly recommended. You'd be like, get into an accident and you say to the police officer, well, my coach, my teacher said I should channel when I'm driving, so I have my eyes closed. And I'm like, no, please keep your eyes open. So yes. And then what you do is you feel into your spirit guide, increase your connection with that guide, and then try to feel and hear what answers, what messages might be coming to you. And I could go into a whole different topic, which is the different clairs. Your spirit guide might give you images, that's clairvoyant. They might give you actually speak to you in words, that's called clairaudient. You might get feelings or emotions from your guide, but that can still be interpreted into a message, that's called clairsentient. You might get a smell, which is clairalience. You might get a taste, which is clairgustance. You might get claircognizant, which is a clear knowing, and on and on and on. So there's a whole bunch of ways that they might try to give you messages. What I recommend if you're just starting out is just instead of trying to figure all that stuff out, just try to sit quietly, feel where your guide is around you, lock in on them, increase your connection to them, and then just try to receive messages. Another little tip, this is a big tip, I know some people might not want to hear this, but just hear me when I say this, is that if you think you're getting future-based messages, it's probably not coming from your guides, it's probably coming from you. My experience has been, not just with me, but also my students, is very rarely will they give you future-based messages. I have some of my clients, they've taken all my channeling workshops and I cover all this topic. And then a few years later, we do a one-on-one and they're like, oh, my guides told me I'm going to fill coliseums full of people. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, that's not your spirit guides. Your spirit guides most likely will give you present moment answers or near future, should I take Ken's upcoming channeling level 1 workshop, which is in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, or in a few weeks from now. They might say that. Why? Because you're already on that trajectory, already on that path. They can see that's a good path for you. But when you say, okay, 2 years, 5 years from now, am I going to meet the partner of my dreams? Am I going to get that job? Am I going to this? Am I going to get that? Am I going to win the lotto? And, that's too far out for you, because you have free will and that could change the trajectory that you're on. And so what I recommend you do is instead try to what's called reframe your questions. Reframe means basically taking it from here and switching it to something else. In this case, in this context, reframing means taking it from future-based message and reframe it to present moment questions. Like, what can I do right now to create wealth in my life? What can I do right now to be a better potential partner so I can meet the man or girl of my dreams? What can I do right now to get noticed by someone like Oprah Winfrey so I can make it on the Oprah Winfrey show, something like that. So keep asking, reframing it to present moment questions, present moment as much as possible. Because if you're doing future based, there's so many variables and you have free will and you have different choices. So try to stay away from future based stuff and more focus on present moment stuff as much as possible. If it's near future, that's fine once in a while, but still, again, that could be mostly reframed into like, what should I do in my business? Or if I'm thinking about starting up a business, it's like, well, maybe start up a Facebook business page, which is free. And you could do that within a half a day, something like that.
Right.
So those are great questions.
So like next step. So not just, so like I was just going to say, like, because most of the questions you were asking was like, what can I do right now? Can some questions also be like, what are the next steps? What's the next step to this?
Yes, and please ask that. That's one of my favorite questions that I ask my spirit guides on a regular basis. Having massive goosebumps is they like that question, Iota. Again, if you're watching this, please write that down. Like, what is my next step to helping me be a better parent? What is my next step to helping me be a better partner? What is my next step to attract that partner in my dreams? What is the next step to create wealth in my life or with my business? Yeah, exactly. So another question that Permi had, thank you. By the way, if you're watching this, please ask your questions in the chat box and also give your name and where you're from. I'll give you a shout out. So Permi also asked, it makes me a little scared to see them, my spirit guides, and I see them. It's like, I get that. I understand that. What I've realized is that as I'm teaching thousands of students over the years is that, have you ever noticed that sometimes the boogeyman isn't that boogie? That sometimes the boogeyman isn't that scary once you understand and know what's going on. So I had a little, there was a lady I was working with back in Edmonton, and then I moved to Calgary, and then a few years later I went back to Edmonton on a Spirit Expo that I was signed up for, and I had a booth there, and she saw that I was going to be there, so she brought her 8-year-old son. As soon as the doors opened, she went straight to my booth with her 8-year-old son, and she's like, Ken, I know what you do, and my son is having trouble sleeping at night because he's seeing things in his room, and I was wondering if you can help him. And I'm like, checking in. I'm like, yeah, okay. And I knew exactly what was going on. So the mother signed up, she paid for the session, and I'm like, okay, you have to go. So she left, and it was just me and this little boy. And I'm like, so what's going on? And he's all quiet and meek and just a cute little boy, like 8 years old or something like that. He's like, I'm really scared to go to sleep at night because I'm seeing things in my room and I don't know what it is. And I'm like, okay, well, let's find out what it is. And sure enough, it was his spirit guide. So I'm like, would you like to connect and find out more about her? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so where is she around you? And he's like, well, she's right here. And I'm like, yeah, so go ahead and put your hand into her. So he goes like this, and he goes like this, and he goes, whoa. That is so cool. And I'm like, I know, that's your spirit guide. She's here to help you. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, let's get to know her. And so he got to know her. And then once he got to know her, he wasn't afraid to sleep anymore at night because he understood. He had the understanding. So oftentimes when we have a fear, it's oftentimes the fear of the unknown. We just don't understand and know it. But once we know it and we understand it, we're like, oh, that's what it is. And in this boy's case, like that was a whole trajectory change for him because now he's able to sleep at night. He knows it's just a spirit guide. He can connect with it. It's his friend. She's here to help him. And then like this is souls and all that of the light. And then there are in all spirituality, it doesn't matter what it is. There's the good of the light, and then there's the not good. So sometimes, not that often, but sometimes things that are not of the light can maybe potentially sneak in. And that's where in my later channeling training, I teach my students how to identify things that are not of the light so they can identify it. And please don't go dabbling in that stuff. Okay, if you're listening to this, heed my warnings. Don't go looking for this. Don't go dabbling on this dark stuff in spirituality. Please stay far away from it. You will get yourself in trouble. You'll get burned. You'll get injured. You'll get spiritually attacked. Just stay far away from that. But if I want all my students to always work in the light, hence the term light workers, please stay and work in the light. However, if something not of the light comes across your path, I teach my students how to identify it so they can get rid of it and expel it and get rid of it so it never bothers them again. And there's a whole bunch of tools and techniques I've developed around that. But ideally, you want to stay working in the light, and most of the time you will be in the light. So I don't want my students to be fear-based. That's the last thing I want. And once you get to later levels, you'll be empowered. There's a whole section that I talk about, which is like how to be empowered and all that. So good question. Thank you, Permi. Wonderful question.
That is a really great question. So I've got the next one here. So can you have symptoms from receiving healing and spiritual upgrades?
Yes. So we talked about earlier about being very careful about choosing your healers. Okay, so let's assume, so of course, that's a whole different topic. Like if you're going to someone you shouldn't have gone to and that are unhealthy, I've had it happen to me a few times in my life where I'm like, oh, and I felt like just really, really bad. The person didn't know what they were doing and had a whole bunch of holes in my auric field and it was just leaking out of me. And for weeks, I was so drained and tired, but that's different. So we're talking about somebody who's competent, who's good for you, who's healthy for you. I had to go, in my case, I had to go see another healer to get all fixed up again. It's like, oh my goodness, what happened to you? I was like, I know, right? Shouldn't have gone to that person, but that's how you learn. That's why I teach this stuff. But let's assume for this question that you're going to see a healer who's good for you, who's healthy for you, all that stuff. So I often have clients that come to me, whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting. And sometimes for a few days after, they're feeling like, so it's what's called a healing crisis or spiritual, like it's sometimes what happens. So think of it like you go to the hospital because you need surgery. And you've been putting it off because you have these symptoms, and these symptoms are debilitating or chronic, or they're affecting your quality of life. And if you don't do anything about it, it's just going to get worse and potentially lead to something more severe. So you finally you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the hospital. I'm going to get this surgery done. And you go in, you get the surgery, and then it takes a few days of recovery, maybe 2 or 3 days of recovery. And during those 2 to 3 days of recovery, you might actually feel worse than before you went in. But then after those 3 or 4 days, you're starting to feel better. And then in the long term, you're feeling 1,000 times better than you were before. But it's because there's a potential recovery time. And so that's normal. That's common. So if you ever get healing by a healer who is good and healthy and all that stuff, and you're feeling some symptoms for a day or two afterward, it's because you might be going through that recovery period. And also, some people might not want to hear this, but oftentimes we're attached to our suffering and we get something out of it.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps right now. So if you're listening, please listen carefully. Is we get attached to our suffering. I know this takes a lot of humility to admit. Even I had to admit this many times in my lifetime. So then what happens is we get off on this. We get something out of it. Like if anybody ever gets angry, you can ask, okay, well, what do they get out of being angry? If an abused person keeps going back to the abuser, what is it that they get out of that abusive situation, that abusive relationship? And I could just go on and on and on, right? So, why do I always talk to my mother-in-law? Because every time I feel horrible afterwards, but then I go ahead and do it the next week. It's because you get something out of it. And sometimes those things that you get out of it aren't necessarily healthy or good for you. So what can happen, and this has happened many times with my clients, is I would do massive amounts of healing on them. And then after I heal them and heal that part of them, they're going through a grieving process because that part of them that used to feed that addictive part that they liked and enjoyed, even in a twisted way, that wasn't necessarily good for them. They've released that and let that go with the healing that I've done on them. And then now they don't have that anymore. And so there's actually some grief and loss that's going on. So they might feel sad for the next few days and like, you know, like kind of maybe short tempered or just like, you know, just lethargic because they're all like, oh, what do I feel? I don't have this anymore. But again, 3 or 4 days later, they feel 1,000 times better. And then for the rest of their life, they don't have that hanging over them anymore. They've moved past it. And then they can feel that joy and that love and that happiness again. I want to make something, just a point that's coming to me right now. There's lots of different ways to heal. One of the ways that I developed, so again, if you're listening to this and want to write it down, is what I used to do when I would feel unwanted emotions was I would try to avoid, I would try to distract, I would try to suppress them. I would do anything but try to feel them. One of the techniques that I teach my students to do is when you're feeling stuff and going through stuff, like you're triggered or upset with something or someone or a situation or whatever it might be, just sit in your emotions. Sit in them. Don't try to run from them. Don't try to hide from them. Just allow yourself to feel them. And then eventually what will happen is they will start to pass and move through you. And when you feel like getting up and distracting and looking at your phone or doing something different or whatever, no, just sit there. And then 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 what happens is over a relatively short period of time, it will start to dissipate and start to dissipate. And then it's a form of just like releasing it rather than, because if you distract yourself or avoid it or stuff it down or whatever, it will keep seeping up over and over and over until you eventually do work through it. And so just by sitting with your, I call it sitting in your shit. So if you're watching this, sitting in your shit is just sit in it and allow it to dissipate through you. And then another form of healing, which I really, really encourage my students. So if you're watching this, it's add more joy to your life, add more laughter, add more play. So for example, in hospitals, they'll have like these like clowns or comedians or whatever come in, and they'll like once a week, and they'll do these like things for the patients, like these presentations and all that. And everybody will be laughing who's in the room. And what they've discovered is that the patients who actually attend these events where they're laughing and having fun, actually their recovery is quicker than the ones who don't attend. So there's healing in joy, there's healing in laughter, there's healing in play. Please, please, please try to add more laughter and play into your life. And also, and Iona knows this, so say it with me, spirituality is meant to be what? Fun, right? Spirituality is meant to be what?
Yep.
Fun. Spirituality is meant to be what? Fun. So what do? We have fun. And you know what else is meant to be fun? Life is meant to be fun. So add more fun and joy, but be intentional about it. Like, you know, don't just do it once and then be like, oh, I did that way back in, you know, this day, this time, years ago. No, it's like do it on a regular basis within reason, of course, there's balance. But, you know, once, so for example, I might put up like stand-up comedy on my phone and listen to that, and I'll be like laughing and howling, or I might go to events where like comedy improv, or I might do events where I'm doing like an ecstatic dance and I'm just dancing like a crazy wild person because it's just fun and it feeds my soul. So try to do things that are in purposely, you add joy and add fun to your life, and try to do it on a regular, consistent basis, like at least once or twice a week, if not more, within reason, of course. You know, you have other commitments and stuff like that, but there's healing in joy, there's healing in laughter, there's healing in play, there's healing in fun. So if you're watching this is the Ask Ken Show. Please feel free to say hi, where you're from. I will give you a shout out. Also, feel free to ask any questions about spirituality. I will live channel the answers here on the air. And Iona, if you want to,
we'll go to the next question. So if I do the work in this lifetime, will I come back to be a healer in the next lifetime?
No guarantees. There's a lot of variables in that question. So the answer is you're more likely, if you do the work in this lifetime, you're more likely to come back in the next lifetime healthier. But again, no guarantees. I've had lots of discussions with people on this, is that some people get very offended if they think, you know, they think that lifetime to lifetime is linear, that you're always going in the upward direction. And that's not always true. No. There is evolution, and then there's de-evolution, and you could do both. And we've all done both. We've all evolved in a good way, in a healthy way. And I guarantee everyone watching this video, so if you're watching, give a shout out, type in something if you agree, is that I guarantee that there's probably been times in your life when you've made poor choices and started going on a wrong path. You started going downhill instead of in the right direction. I know I've done that several times in my life. So it doesn't mean I'm evolving. It's impossible for a person not to evolve. If you're incarnated, it's impossible not to evolve. But the question is, are you evolving in a healthy direction or in the opposite direction? And so what I try to encourage my students to do is make good, healthy choices on a regular basis so that you can evolve in a good, healthy direction over and over consistently. Something that's really important that I learned from a guy named John Maxwell. I was at a conference of his probably about 15 years ago, and I was in the audience, and he talked about this new book that he had just written. And in this new book, it talked about where he has to keep making commitments over and over and over again. And he used the example, like he used many examples of different areas of his life. And the one that I remember the most was, for example, he made a commitment to be in a platonic or monogamous relationship with his wife. So committed relationship with his wife where it would just be the two of them. He wouldn't cheat on her. And he made that commitment way back, like 15 years before, or 50, whatever it was, 20, 30 years before when he got married. And he's talking to the conference, to the audience about this. And he said, something I realized, because I'm famous and I have a lot of money, I get a lot of women who hit on me. And what I have to do every single day is I have to recommit to my marriage vows, to my wife. And then the next day when another attractive woman hits on me, I'm like, no, thank you very much. And then I recommit to my marriage vows to my wife. And so that commitment isn't just a one-time commitment, it's a regular daily commitment. And so the same concept could be for health, for eating foods. It's like, no, I don't just commit one time to eating healthy. I commit, on a regular daily basis. Same thing with exercise. I might not, I recommit on a weekly basis. I'm going to exercise. And when it comes to your soul's evolution, can I recommit on a daily, regular basis to my soul's evolution? What's good for me? What's healthy for me? What's in my soul's alignment? What can I do today and make sure? And sometimes the answer is saying no. Sometimes it's like, no, that's not good for me. That's not healthy for me. If you only knew how many times I have to say no in a month so I can stay on my path and stay on track, you'd be shocked. Like, it's a lot. But I'm very intentional about it. I'm very conscious about it. Why? Because in the past I haven't, and then it would take me off my path. And so I have to recommit to my soul's purpose, recommit to my long-term goals on a daily, regular basis. Okay. What was the original question again, Iona?
So do we carry the tool? No, it's if I do the work in this lifetime, will I come back to be a healer in the next lifetime?
Yeah. Okay. So going back to soul's evolution over lifetimes is sometimes what can happen is one lifetime we might be like a super enlightened person, and then the next time we might be a murderer or abuser or something like that. And you could be a female abuser. It doesn't always mean it's a male abuser. It could be both directions. And then the next time you might be like all enlightened again and all that. And then the next lifetime it might be like you've hurt people and done wrong to people throughout that lifetime. And then the next lifetime, you might be like a healer and do amazing things and help people in a good, positive way. And it could be like this kind of like up and down. And sometimes it might be many lifetimes you're doing and helping people in a good, positive way. And it might be many lifetimes that you're maybe hurting people and doing mean things to them throughout that lifetime. And then also keep in mind that in a lifetime we can change as people. So some people, they're really good and healthy and helping lots of people, and then for some reason something takes them downhill and now all of a sudden they're hurting lots of people. And then it could be the other way around, like at some point in their life they might be hurting lots of people and then they get healthier and then they start helping and working with lots of people to help them be better and themselves be better. So it's not just lifetime to lifetime, it could also be in between lives that we're changing and evolving. Yeah. What I recommend to my students is and I'm very intentional about this. So this is called ascension, and not just random ascension, but being very, what I call intentional ascension. Because what most people do is they just, whichever way the wind blows is the way that they go. Oh, the wind's blowing this way today. Okay, I'm going to go this way. Oh, now next week the wind's blowing the other way. Okay, I guess I'm going that way. And whichever way the wind blows is the way that they're going. But when you're like steadfast and determined on your goals and your aspirations, then it doesn't matter which way the wind's blowing. You're like, no, I'm going on this direction and this is my path and I don't care which way the wind's blowing. And it might, move me a tiny bit, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going. So when life happens, I'm getting goosebumps right now, which life will happen. You're like, no, I'm still going in this direction. When somebody makes a mean comment about you or to you, you're like, okay, that's fine. It sucks. I'm upset about it, but I'm still going in this direction. When I don't feel well, or don't feel like doing something, it's like, no, I'm still going in this direction. And you just keep going in this direction, no matter what life throws at you, other people, external, internal, it doesn't matter. So for me, doing this over 20 years now, I just keep going in the same direction. Like I know where I'm going. I know my path, and I don't let anything take me off my path, especially myself. And the other caution that I also give to people is please, please, please don't let anybody else take you off your path. I've seen it too many times. Sometimes, I know this might sound ironic, but sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones closest to you and the ones that love you. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't have the full understanding, but they love you and they might give you like guidance or advice or suggestions, or shame you or guilt you into being a different person or going in a different direction, and they do it out of love because they care for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you. But because you know them very closely, they have a lot more weight than just some random person who is to give you the same advice.
Yeah.
Like, well, who are you? You don't even know me. Like, screw off. But because it's a loved one, a friend, a family member, whoever it might be, you're like, oh, really? Yeah, maybe I shouldn't go down this spiritual path. Maybe I should do something different with my life. Really? Yeah, that's kind of scary. Yeah. Or like the biggest one that a lot of people, their family members will say to them when they find out they're learning to channel is, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to open up these doors, these realms, to these things that are demonic and blasphemy and wrong and bad. And you're going to let all these things in. And it's not that they say it because they care, but they don't know what they're talking about. Because let me explain this. I'll be very clear. Is long before people take my channeling workshops, they've been channeling already anyway. Everybody channels. All the 7-8 billion people on this planet, everybody channels, whether they realize it or not. Like, have you ever given somebody a message and then they're like, wow, how did you know to say that? Like, I needed to hear that. That's exactly what I needed to hear. And it's because most likely you were channeling their spirit guide through you and you were giving them that message. And then vice versa, they might give you a message that you needed to hear at just that right timing. And it's most likely because your spirit guide is working through them and giving you that message. They didn't even know that's what was happening. But when you know what you're doing and you know how you're doing it, so we all channel, and you know how to do it intentionally and you know who you're channeling, then you can make sure that you're only channeling things of the light and not things that are not of the light. And then you don't let these things in because you know what you're doing. But if you don't take any channeling training, then you could be inadvertently, by naivety, and which is what I did in my early days, was I was letting these things in and channeling things that I shouldn't have been because I didn't know any different. Nobody taught me any different. So it's actually healthier for you to take channeling training than not take it. It's actually more safer for you to take channeling training than not to take it, because it's easy to just stick your head in the sand and go, oh, everything's going to be fine, but it might be, but it might not. So it's good to take formal training if you're interested.
Yes, and your level 1 is really good for that because you break it down right down to like how each single one feels, right? Like how how your soul feels, how your heart feels, your like all the chakras, and then your higher self, and then your spirit guides, and like you just go step by step by step by step. So I highly recommend his channel, at least leveling channel 1. If you don't want to get into like psychic mediumship or channeling or anything, I still recommend doing channeling 1, just to learn to communicate for yourself with yourself. Like it's just a better,
So please feel free to check out my website, channelinginc.com. All my workshops are there. I usually do about 10 to 14 events a month, and they're all accessible for you, including the Ask Ken show, which we do once a month. I'm so excited. Woo! So if you're watching this, please feel free to say hi, say your name, where you're from. We'll give you a shout out. And if you have any questions about spirituality, just type it in the chat box, and we will I will live channel the answers. What's the next question, Iona?
Go on to the next one. So the next one is, actually Keely just came in on Facebook. She says, hi Ken, glad I caught your show tonight. Love the show and all the reminders and memories. Perfect.
So Kelly and I go way back. She's one of the ones where I gave her grandson a crystal at one of the Spirit Expos, and it totally, I'm getting goosebumps. Yay. There's a whole story there, so lots of beautiful memories with her. I can't remember how long ago that was, like over 10 years ago, maybe longer. So great to see you, Kelly. Thank you for tuning in out of Alberta, Canada.
From Alberta. All right. Another Canadian. Woo-hoo. So next question. Do we carry the tools forward from this lifetime into the next lifetime?
We can, yes. And that's a really cool question, a really good question is. And so if you're watching this, please listen carefully. This is really cool. And please experiment with this. Try it on your own. I want you to. I kind of developed this technique on my own. I learned about past lives. Like I knew there was something missing because I had all this training on how to do like childhood healing and this lifetime healing and all this other trauma. So I have like counseling training, therapy training, psychology training, a whole bunch of other kinds of training. And then it wasn't until several years later that I had basically a practitioner, like a workshop, a retreat that I went to. And the person taking us through the retreat, the Zen master, he actually took us through a past life regression. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the missing key. I've been missing that. I knew there was something missing. And it was like, not just this lifetime, which is important. Please do the childhood and this lifetime healing. But there's also past life healing. Mm-hmm. And then when I started, after that retreat I came back and I was like, not only doing like past lives on my students and other people, like everybody, I'd be like, hey, I just learned this new thing about past lives. Can I take you through a past life regression? They're like, yeah, sure. We're right here at the coffee shop. I'm like, yeah, sure. Who cares? Let's do it here. So we do it right there live. And I'm like, what? Like 20 minutes later, they're like, that was so cool. And I started doing past lives on myself. And I would go through like all the, different past lives I had. I probably documented over 100. And some were like, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. Some I was male, some I was female, different parts of the world. I would track all that, document it, and all that stuff. And one thing I realized after a few years of doing this is that I'm like, wait a second, Ken, not only have I had bad or negative things happen to me in my past lives, but I've also had good things. And I've also had things that maybe I can draw from those past lives into this present lifetime. So for example, if you've ever watched like America's Got Talent or one of those talent kind of shows, you might see this like 5 or 8 year old kid get up on stage and they're doing this like amazing like performance, whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. And everyone in the audience is like, wow, that's incredible. How can such a young person do this? They're only like so young and all this. And I'm like tuning in. I'm like, don't you people get it? Like this is all past life stuff. They've just taken this past life stuff. Yep. And they've drawn it into this lifetime. And that's why they're able to do it. It's not their first rodeo. It's not their first time they've ever done this. Like they've done this probably many lifetimes, and some of them one lifetime, some of them many lifetimes, but they've drawn it from these past lifetimes into this current lifetime. So you can do the same. So again, if you're listening to this, after the Ask Ken show, I would suggest take 5-10 minutes and try this out. So what you do is you sit somewhere quiet, try to quiet your mind, tune into your soul, because that's where your memories are stored, is in your soul. Also your Akashic records too, but for this example, I'll just get you to tune into your soul. And then what you do is you talking with your soul, you ask your soul to take you to a positive past lifetime. So again, you can do it for like sometimes I do that with my students where I'll take them through negative ones for healing purposes and stuff like that. But in this context, you're trying to draw positive things. So you want to ask your soul to take you to a positive past lifetime that you've had in the past. And then you allow your soul to take you. The questions that I usually ask are like, okay, what continent, what country is it in? Am I male or female in this past lifetime? Am I alone? Are there others around me? Am I inside? Am I outside? What's going on in that scene? What's happening? And then I ask my soul, like, okay, why did you bring me to this past lifetime? Like, what's the positive reasons? And then I ask my soul, okay, what can I draw off of these past lifetime, like the characteristics, the attributes, the behaviors, the healthy behaviors, the healthy this, the healthy that, and then also any skills. You can draw those good, healthy skills into this lifetime. And then what you do is you pull them and you draw them from that past lifetime, all the positives, only just the positives. You draw, and you bring them in. And then you integrate it into this current lifetime. And you just keep doing this. Like I'm getting goosebumps right now. Like it's just so cool. So try your best to draw these positive past skills, attributes, characteristics, behaviors into this current lifetime. And you can do this. You can.
Yeah.
Good question.
It's very cool when it's done.
Love this stuff. Yeah. So I do these in my workshop, and I also do them in my level 3 again. because it's just so powerful at
Yeah.
the very end of level 3. And I hope you.
Yeah, and you've also like you've done them in one-on-ones as well. We've done a few like past life regression things too. Yeah. So very cool work. All right, so next question. Do all crystals have, this is one of my favorite topics, do all crystals have crystal divas associated with them?
Yeah, good question. So we have crystals. So I teach my students how to do crystal channeling, and you're more than welcome to try this out. So yeah, I don't know, do you have any crystals there?
I might have a few.
Yeah, she's the crystal queen right there. So look at all those crystals in the background. Yeah. So we have lots of crystals there.
That's just one shelf. Yes.
Yeah. So what I recommend you do is find a crystal that you have, and you can actually do what's called crystal channeling. So what I recommend you do is take a deep breath, clear yourself, pretend like you know nothing about nothing to do with crystals. And then what you do is you go ahead and slowly you pick up your crystal, and then you feel the crystal and try to just read the energy from the crystal. Like, what does it do? How does it help? Try to like channel the crystal. It's called crystal channeling, and to get information from the crystal. And the reason why is because I don't know why or how it came to this, but just there's so much misinformation about crystals. So the most important thing about channeling is getting yourself out of the way. So if you have a crystal, just pretend like you know nothing about that crystal, and instead try to connect with it and channel it and hold it and pretend like you know nothing, and just receive what it actually really does. What does it really do? How does it really help? And you'd be surprised. You'd find that a lot of times crystals that you think do a certain thing actually doesn't. But when you channel it, you can channel it directly and get direct information. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes crystals will have crystal divas associated with it. So then what you can do, if it does, so don't guess, don't assume, you can check. And I want to make a disclaimer on this. If a crystal that you have does not have a crystal diva associated with it, it doesn't make the crystal bunk or useless or worthless. It still can be just as powerful, and it can still have a lot of value to it. So it doesn't need to have a crystal diva associated with it. Some just happen to. And if it does, then what you do, which is really cool, is you tune into the crystal diva associated with the crystal. And then that will allow you to get more information. You can ask the crystal diva to give you more information about the crystal, what it really does, its properties, maybe where it's from, all that other kind of cool stuff, which is super cool. So actually, Kelly Alexa Durant, so her grandson, way back in the day when we first met, that was the first time, was he came up to was walking down the aisle at one of the booths that I was a vendor at the Spirit Expo at. And I sometimes before I'll buy like crystals because I know there's people I'm meant to give them away to. So sure enough, this boy comes along and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to give him a crystal. So I run around the booth with grab a crystal, and I run around the booth. I'm like, hey, would you like a crystal? He's like, yeah, sure. So I'm like, okay, open your hand. So he opens his hand. I put this crystal in his hand, and he's like, oh, okay. And he's about to put it in his pocket. And I said, whoa, wait a second. I said, just take a second before you do this. And he's like, what? I'm like, okay, hold the crystal. So he's holding the crystal. And I say, okay, now take the crystal and close your hands and really connect with it. And then he goes like this, and he connects with this crystal, and he goes, whoa, that is so cool. I'm like, right? And I'm like, now you're connected with the crystal. It's like yours. You're connected to it. And what did he actually do? What did I have him do? I had him connect with the crystal diva. He knew this. I knew there was a crystal diva associated with that crystal. Not all crystals have them, but in this case it did. But when he felt that, whoa, well, that's so cool, that's when he connected with that crystal diva. And then I saw him like, you know, all throughout the afternoon, like he would walk by my booth, and he would make eye contact and be looking at his crystal and looking at me and looking at, you know, he'd walk by, and then a few hours later he'd like walk by again. He's like looking at his crystal, looking at me with a big smile on his face. And then I found out later from Kelly and Alexa Durant, his grandmother, that over the years he started getting more into spirituality, collecting more crystals, and getting into other things as well with spirituality, which is super cool. And she's like, yeah, Ken, even to this day he still talks about you. I'm getting goosebumps again. I'm like, feel so honored. And I like, and in that case, I didn't care about sales. I don't care about anything else. I just wanted to make that special connection with that boy and have him connect to that crystal diva with the crystal. So what you can do for those crystal lovers of yours, of you who are out there, is when you go into like a crystal shop or metaphysical store, try to like connect with different crystals. And then again, use your channeling, use your spirit guides to help you guide you. And you'll find that you'll be drawn to certain crystals. And then you can feel free to check to see if it has a crystal diva associated with it. And if it does, as a bonus, as an add-on, you can connect to the crystal diva as well. But again, ones that don't have it could be just as great, just as powerful. So they can all be amazing. Okay, we have a question that came in from Permi, which is it possible to ask a person's body diva, what is the purpose that we met? Just like the crystal diva. So I would say that's more.
Before you get into that, Keely just wanted to respond. He still does it even today, but he's also learned how to recharge them.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, Kelly. Yes. So thank you for saying that, because there's a whole bunch more I teach about crystals and crystal channeling. And then in my level 4, I actually teach crystal healing, which is super cool, how to use crystals to work through you to actually do crystal healing, which is super awesome. And then I also give special attunements and spiritual upgrades where I teach you how to clear crystals, which is really important. Make sure that they're nice and clear. And then the second thing I also teach is how to activate and increase the potency, how potent, how strong the crystals are. So thank you, Kelly, for saying that. Oh my God, that warms my heart. Woo! Yeah.
I think we're
major special memory.
We're almost up for time, so we'll take this one last question and then.
Yeah, so one last question. Is it possible to ask a person's body diva, what is the purpose that we met? Yes, short answer is yes. So oftentimes when we meet somebody, we want to know, why did I meet this person? Like, what's the lesson? What's the reason? What's the purpose? Also know that sometimes that can be evolving too. It doesn't just be one thing. Sometimes it can evolve over a period of time. What I encourage all my students to do is try your best to be mature about this stuff. So whenever you meet somebody, try to, whether it's for a long period of time or for a season of your life, a period of your life, try to be mature about it and leave on good terms or stay on good terms, like with that person. That every experience that you meet somebody can be a fulfilling and uplifting experience if you choose it to be. Now, for me personally, there are some people that my guides are like, no, just that person would not be healthy for me. And I don't even allow that person in my sphere. Like we might connect here and there and, say hello, give a hug, whatever. But then after that, it's like, I purposely don't allow them on my inside circle. So I'm very careful who I allow in my inner circle. And I only allow people that are high vibration, that are going to be uplifting and fulfilling and lift me up and all that. And because if I do the opposite, and then it could drag me down over periods of time. So also too, is if there's lots of drama with people, ask yourself, what are you contributing to this? And sometimes it's not you, sometimes it's all them. But then you're like, okay, well, why do I keep allowing this person in my life? Like, I have no drama because I don't let people who have drama in my life. And then the people that I do let in my life, they're not into drama. I'm not into drama. So there's none of that ever that goes on. It doesn't mean we don't sometimes have a little bit of disagreement about things, but in general, it's like we're mature and we're evolved enough where we don't let that stuff bother us much or at all. And if we do, we just kind of forgive and move on, and we're still friends and relationships. So there is something that I also teach, which is called confidentiality and not prying or psychic spying on people. So there's also ethics around this when you're tuning into somebody else without their permission. But if the person's consensual and they give permission and they're okay with it and it's agreed upon, then fair game, you can go for it and you can ask them and have a mature conversation. Like, is it okay if we connect and figure out, why did we meet? Like, what's the purpose? And oftentimes it's not just one reason, it could be many reasons. And oftentimes it could be healthy reasons. What I do is when I'm in relationships, whether it's friend or otherwise, I always ask myself, how can this be the most nourishing, beautiful, wonderful experience ever with this person? Again, it could be with another man, women, at different age groups. It doesn't matter. It's about how can it be nourishing for me and my soul in a good, positive, healthy way. And as a species in the long term, what I really encourage my students to do is help them and teach them and train them how to be what I call highly evolved species. Highly evolved, just like there's other, if you look up in the sky in the universe, there's other planets out there with species that are more highly evolved than us. And they've gone through all this like low level, like hate and anger and all that stuff, but they've evolved beyond it. So the question I ask myself is, how can I be more of a highly evolved species for myself and set that as a role model for my students, but also for myself? And then I encourage my students to do the same. Like, think of it like these species out in these other planets, they might, again, it could be a male to male or female to female or male to female, and they get together for a certain period of the time. And then when that's time is done, they namaste, thank you very much. And they evolve and work and grow together in a good, enlightened way. And there's no drama. There's none of that, bitterness or upsetness or attachment or codependency, none of that stuff, because everybody's there to help push each other and lift each other up. And sometimes in relationships, again, whether it's friend or otherwise, there's things that we can grow and learn and evolve in ways that we can't when we're not in relationships. So I was talking to my my mother the other day, and she's like, "Oh, maybe I just won't have friends, and I just want this." I'm like, "No, Mom, don't let this experience with this one person skew you and think that you need to keep yourself now and not. No, you're meant to be in relationship and have friends." And there's all sorts of studies that show that people that are in relationships and have good community, they actually live longer and live healthier lives. So please, please, please try to nourish the relationships that you're in. And if you find that sometimes people trigger you or upset or bother you or upset you, look within and ask yourself, what is it that I need to heal and clear within me so that this doesn't bother me anymore? And take ownership of your part to the best of your ability. And then if you can do self-healing, please do that. And if you need to see other healers, please do that as well. So I think with that, we are done the Ask Ken show. So
yes.
Thank you, Iona. If you have any,
you're very welcome.
Anything, if you would like to have your questions on the Ask Ken show, you can type them in the chat box right now, or you can message myself or Iona, and we can add that to our list. And then tune in the next month for the Ask Ken show. Also, please feel free to check out .com for all my upcoming events. And we will see you all soon. Love you all. Woo woo. Spirituality is meant to be what?
Bye.
Fun. Fun, everybody. Keep it light, keep it fun. And you know what else is meant to be fun?
Take care.
Life is meant to be fun. See you all later.